I've always tried to be the good daughter. That's what everyone expects from Jenna, the successful marketing executive who never married or had kids. Unlike my older siblings, Mark and Diana, who have families of their own and can barely make ends meet, or so they claim. My name is Jenna. I'm 30 years old, and I've been working at the same marketing firm for 8 years now. 3 years ago, I got promoted to senior manager, which came with a hefty pay raise. Since then, my family's expectations of me have only grown. Jenna can pay for it, she's loaded, has become their favorite phrase. I've been sending my parents $1,500 each month for the past 3 years to help with groceries and utilities. My parents never explicitly thank me for it. They just act like it's my obligation because I'm single and childless. For the past 2 weeks, I've been preparing for my mother's 60th birthday. I wanted to do something special, something that would truly make her happy. 6 months ago, I purchased a small country house as an investment property. It's nothing fancy, just a cozy 2-bedroom with a beautiful backyard surrounded by trees and flowering shrubs. As I was making the mortgage payments, I started thinking that this would make the perfect gift for my mom. She and Dad had been talking about retiring somewhere quiet for years. "I just want a peaceful place where your father and I can enjoy our golden years," she'd say during our Sunday phone calls. I decided this house would be perfect for them. I prepared a small gift box with the house documents inside, along with a handwritten letter explaining my plan to transfer the house to her once I paid off the mortgage. I also included several printed photos of the property, the charming exterior, the spacious kitchen with granite countertops, the master bedroom with its bay window. I imagined her face lighting up when she opened it, maybe even tears of joy. For once, I wanted her to look at me with genuine appreciation. 3 days before her birthday, Mom called to remind me about the party. "We're having everyone at our house," she said. "Your Aunt Marge and Uncle Pete don't want to go to a restaurant. They're too old for that nonsense." "That's fine, Mom. I'll be there," I promised. "Mark and Diana pulled their money to buy me a car," she said, her voice brimming with pride. "Can you believe it? A whole car." My stomach tightened. "That's wonderful." "What are you getting me?" she asked bluntly. "It's a surprise," I replied, trying to sound mysterious rather than defensive. She snorted. "I expect something special from you, Jenna. You earn good money, after all." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen counter feeling deflated. My mother's expectations weighed on me like a physical burden. The constant reminders that I earned well were her way of making sure I knew my role. I was the family bank, but I brushed those thoughts aside. I was giving her a house for goodness sake. She would finally see how much I cared, how much I was willing to sacrifice for her happiness. I pictured her face when she realized what was in that little box, and my spirits lifted again. On the morning of Mom's birthday, I stopped by the florist and picked up an extravagant bouquet of her favorite flowers, pink roses, white lilies, and baby's breath. It cost nearly $200, but I wanted it to be perfect. Then I grabbed the small gift box from my bedroom dresser, where I'd been keeping it safe, and headed to my parents' house. When I arrived, the party was already in full swing. The driveway was packed with cars, and I could hear laughter from inside. I balanced the bouquet in one arm and the gift box in my other hand as I rang the doorbell. Dad opened the door. "Oh, Jenna, you're here. Everyone's already arrived." I stepped inside and looked around for Mom. She was in the dining room, arranging platters of food. "Happy birthday, Mom," I said, moving in for a hug. She barely looked up. "Oh, Jenna, put your things down somewhere and help me with these appetizers." I found a vase in the kitchen cabinet, filled it with water, and arranged my bouquet. I carried it into the living room, placing it on the coffee table where everyone could admire it. Mom walked in carrying a tray of deviled eggs. She frowned at the flowers. "Those are taking up too much space. People will need to put their drinks down." She picked up the vase and carried it away, disappearing into the kitchen. I told myself not to be hurt. Mom was just busy with the party she'd appreciate. My real gift later, Everyone gathered around the dining table for lunch. My relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, chatted loudly as they passed dishes back and forth. Mom sat at the head of the table, beaming as everyone complimented her cooking. After the meal, it was time for presents. Mark and Diana stood up, exchanging conspiratorial smiles. Mom, Dad, everyone. If you could all step outside for a moment, Mark announced. Diana and I have something special to show you. We all filed out onto the front lawn. There, parked at the curb with a giant red bow on the hood, was a new silver sedan. Not luxury-level expensive, but certainly not cheap either. "Oh my God," Mom screamed, clasping her hands to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears as she turned to embrace my siblings. "I can't believe you did this." Everyone applauded. Dad put his arm around Mom as they posed for photos in front of their new car. I stood to the side, still clutching my small gift box, feeling strangely invisible despite being right there. As everyone settled back inside, the gift-giving continued. Aunt Marge gave Mom a casserole dish. Uncle Pete presented a gift card to her favorite department store. My cousin Tina handed over a hand-knitted scarf. Mom opened each one with theatrical delight, exclaiming over every single item as if it were a priceless treasure. Finally, it was my turn. "Jenna, what did you bring?" Dad asked, all eyes turning to me. I stepped forward and handed Mom the small gift box wrapped in silver paper with a delicate blue ribbon. "Happy birthday, Mom." She took it, her smile fading as she weighed the small box in her hands. "This is it?" My heart raced. "Yes, it's a surprise." "It's so small," she said, her disappointment evident. Diana snickered. "Wow, Jenna, you couldn't even splurge on the packaging. That's pretty stingy for someone with your salary." Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. "I'll open this later," she said, placing my gift on the side table without even unwrapping it. "Let's see what Cousin Robert brought." I felt like I'd been slapped. The bouquet had been ignored. And now my main gift, the most significant gift of all, was being set aside without even a glance. But I bit my tongue, not wanting to create a scene at her birthday party. The afternoon dragged on. More relatives presented their gifts, bath salts, scented candles, a blouse that was definitely the wrong size. Mom opened each one with enthusiasm, gushing over the thoughtfulness of everyone. Meanwhile, she kept shooting me disapproving glances, as if I had committed some terrible social faux pas. Mark and Diana weren't helping. They kept exchanging knowing looks and whispering to each other whenever Mom looked my way. At one point, Diana loudly said, "Some people just don't understand what a milestone birthday means," while staring directly at me. By mid-afternoon, I needed a break from the tension. I excused myself to step outside, partly to get some fresh air and partly to make a quick call to my assistant about a presentation due on Monday. The cool breeze helped clear my head, and for a few minutes, I could pretend I was somewhere else. When I came back inside, I headed toward the kitchen for a glass of water. That's when I saw it, my gift box, still wrapped, sitting in the sink. Next to it were the mangled remains of my expensive bouquet, the petals crushed and stems broken. I stood frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. My mother had thrown away my gift without even opening it. The house documents, the letter I'd written pouring my heart out, the photos, all tossed away like garbage. "Oh, would you look at that?" came Diana's voice from behind me. She and Mark were standing in the doorway, watching me stare at the trash can. "Looks like your gift found the right home," Mark added with a smirk. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A strange calm settled over me like a protective shield. Without a word, I turned around, walked past my smearing siblings, and headed upstairs to collect my purse. On my way out, I scribbled a quick note. "Mom, you should really look at what was in that box before throwing it away, Jenna." I stuck it to the refrigerator with a magnet where she'd be sure to see it. Then I walked out the front door without saying goodbye to anyone. Nobody called after me. Nobody noticed I was leaving. Or maybe they just didn't care. Back in my apartment, I poured myself a generous glass of Cabernet and sank onto my couch. The silence felt healing after hours of forced smiles and pointed comments. I kicked off my heels and pulled up my banking app, staring at the recurring transfer scheduled to go to my parents' account on the first of the month. $1,500. Every month. For 3 years. My phone started ringing around an hour after I'd left the party. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I ignored it. It rang again, and again, and again, and again. On the 5th call, I finally answered. Hello? Jenna. My mother's voice was sweet as honey, not a trace of the disappointment or disdain she'd shown earlier. Darling, why did you leave so suddenly? We were worried. And, well, I opened your gift. Oh, Jenna, a house. It's absolutely beautiful, those photos. Your father and I are just overwhelmed. We can't wait to see it in person. The sudden change in her tone made my stomach turn. So you found it in the trash? There was a pause. The trash? No, that must have been a mistake. Someone must have moved it by accident. I saw it with my own eyes, Mom. My gift was in the garbage, along with the flowers I brought you. Well, there must be some misunderstanding, but I've corrected it now. The house looks absolutely perfect. Those big windows in the living room, the lovely garden. I took a long sip of wine. I'm glad you like the photos, Mom, because that's all you're getting. What do you mean? Her voice sharpened. I mean, I've changed my mind. I'm not giving you the house. But you can't do that. It's my birthday gift. It's already promised. You threw it in the trash, remember? Before you even knew what it was. That was before I knew, Jenna. Don't be ridiculous. Your father and I love that house. We've already started talking about how we'll arrange the furniture. Which bedroom will be ours. Too bad, I said, surprised by how calm I felt. The gift is canceled. You can't do this, she shouted, her sugary tone completely gone now. I'll sue you. I have your note that proves you intended to give us the house. That's a binding promise, I laughed. Actually laughed. Go ahead and sue me, Mom. I have photos of my gift in your trash can. Feel free to spend money on a lawyer, but you won't get my house. The string of obscenities that followed was impressive, even for my mother. I waited until she ran out of breath. Goodbye, Mom, I said, and hung up. I took another sip of wine, then opened my banking app again. With one final tap, I canceled the $1,500 monthly transfer to my parents' account. 3 years and $54,000 later, I was finally cutting the financial cord. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications, text messages, missed calls, voicemails, all from my family. I scrolled through them as I sipped my coffee, feeling strangely detached. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I blocked their numbers one by one. Then I went through my social media accounts and blocked them there too. It felt like cleaning house, removing the toxicity that had been draining me for years. I threw myself into work that week, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. 2 weeks passed without any contact from my family. I'd expected to feel guilty or sad, but instead, I felt lighter. No more Sunday anxiety before my mother's. Weekly calls, no more scheduling my budget around their needs, no more walking on eggshells to avoid criticism. Then one Tuesday evening, my phone rang with an unknown number. I assumed it was the food delivery I'd ordered, so I answered without thinking. Hello? Jenna. My mother's voice was immediately recognizable, even through the phone. Why haven't you been answering our calls? I sat up straighter. I blocked your numbers. Well, that's mature, she scoffed. I'm calling because the money didn't come through this month. Of course not I miss you or can we talk? Just straight to the money. I canceled the transfers, I said calmly. You and Dad will need to pay for your utilities and groceries yourselves, from now on. There was a moment of stunned silence then. You can't do that. We're counting on that money. You've been getting $100 to $1,500 from me every month for 3 years, Mom. That's $54,000. What did you think would happen after you threw my gift in the trash and threatened to sue me? I was upset. You can't punish us financially because of one little argument. It wasn't little to me, I replied. And it wasn't just an argument. It was the final straw. She started crying then. Loud, theatrical sobs that had worked on me countless times before. How will we manage? Your father's pension isn't enough. We have bills, Jenna. I'm sure Mark and Diana will step up, after all. They're such thoughtful children. They bought you a car, remember? They have families to support. And I don't, I countered. I'm just the bank of Jenna, right? No needs or feelings of my own? You're being cruel, she said between sobs. No, Mom, I'm being fair. For the first time in years. I hung up and blocked that number too. Then I stood at my apartment window, looking out at the city lights. Part of me wondered if I was being too harsh, but the larger part, the part that had seen my gift discarded without a second thought, knew I was finally doing the right thing. For me. The weeks turned into months. Fall came, bringing cooler temperatures and changing leaves. I hadn't heard from my family since that last phone call, and I was surprised by how complete my life felt without them. I joined a book club, started taking weekend hiking trips, and even gone on a few dates. For the first time in my adult life, I was spending my money and time on myself, not on obligations to people who saw me as nothing more than a resource. One Saturday morning in November, 2 months after my mother's birthday, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but sometimes my neighbor's packages got delivered to my apartment by mistake. I opened the door without checking the peephole. My mother stood in the hallway, looking smaller and older than I remembered. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and her normally perfect hair looked unkempt. Without waiting for an invitation, she pushed past me into my apartment and collapsed onto my sofa, her purse clutched tightly in her lap. We're in trouble, Jenna, she said, without preamble. Serious financial trouble. The bank was threatening foreclosure. Something like pity stirred in me, but I pushed it down. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not, she snapped, her vulnerability suddenly replaced with anger. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Seeing a struggle while you live in this fancy apartment with your fancy job. I'm not enjoying your pain, Mom, but I'm not responsible for it either. So you're just going to let us sink? After everything we've done for you? I sat in the armchair across from her. What exactly have you done for me lately, Mom? Besides criticize my career, dismiss my gifts, and try to manipulate me emotionally and financially? I made a mistake with your birthday gift, she admitted reluctantly. I should have opened it first. It's not about opening it first. It's about throwing it away, without even caring what was inside. It's about how you've treated me for years, like an ATM machine instead of a daughter. That's not true. We love you. When's the last time you or Dad actually thanked me for the money I've been sending? When's the last time you called just to check on me? Not to remind me about some financial obligation or family event I was expected to attend. She stared at me for a long moment, then stood up abruptly. You're an ungrateful daughter, Jenna, after everything we've sacrificed for you. Like what? I challenged. Tell me one sacrifice you've made for me in the last 5 years. The question hung in the air between us. She had no answer. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilty. Instead, I felt as though a weight I'd been carrying for years had finally been lifted from my shoulders. The confrontation I'd been dreading was over, and I had survived it without caving into emotional manipulation. That evening, I called the real estate agent handling the country house. I'd decided to keep it, I told her. I'll be using it as my weekend getaway. Place. That's wonderful, she said. It's such a charming property. You'll love spending time there. I think I will, I replied, smiling to myself. The house that was meant to be a gift for my mother would now be a gift to myself, a symbol of my new beginning. 3 more weeks passed without any contact from my family. Christmas decorations started appearing in store windows, and my office began planning the annual holiday party. I found myself looking forward to the season for the first time in years. No obligation to buy expensive gifts for everyone. No dreading the inevitable comments about my single status at family gatherings. I spent a weekend at my country house, bringing cleaning supplies and some basic furniture. The place had good bones, as they say. Hardwood floors, a fireplace in the living room, lots of natural light. I hung a few pictures, arranged bookshelves, and planted bulbs in the garden that would bloom in spring. It felt good to make the space my own. My cousin Rachel called me one evening. She was the only family member I hadn't blocked, mainly because she lived across the country and rarely got involved in family drama. "I heard what happened," she said, after we'd exchanged pleasantries. "Diana's been telling everyone you abandoned the family." I laughed without humor. "Of course she has. How are they doing, really?" Rachel hesitated. "They're struggling. They had to sell the car Mark and Diana bought. Apparently, they were behind on mortgage payments. She also let slip that you were going to give them a house before everything went south. Is that true?" "Yeah, I bought a country house as an investment property, but I was planning to give it to them for Mom's birthday. I even put the documents and photos in a gift box. She threw it in the trash without opening it." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Wow. Do you ever think about reconciling with them?" I thought about it, trying to be honest with myself. No, I don't. I spend years being their financial safety net, while getting nothing but criticism in return. I'm done. "I get it," Rachel said. "Just know that Diana's been trying to get everyone to take sides. Some people are buying her version of events, but others aren't so sure. I appreciate the heads up, but I'm not really concerned about family gossip anymore." After we hung up, I considered Rachel's news. My parents selling the car didn't surprise me. They'd always been terrible with money. What did surprise me was how little guilt I felt. The old Jenna would have immediately started calculating how much she could afford to send them, even after everything that had happened. The new Jenna understood that wasn't her responsibility. A week later, I ran into Mark at the grocery store. I was picking up ingredients for a dinner party I was hosting for friends from work. He was in the wine aisle, staring at the cheaper bottles. "Jenna?" he said, startled when he noticed me. "Mark?" I nodded, planning to keep walking. "Wait," he called. "After me, can we talk for a minute?" I stopped, shopping basket still in hand. "What about?" He looked uncomfortable. "Mom and Dad. They're really struggling, Jenna. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof from the stress." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and meant it. I didn't wish them ill health. "They need help," he pressed. "Financial help." "And where are you and Diana in all this? You two gave Mom a car for her birthday. Surely you can help them with their bills." He shifted his weight. "We have families to support, kids, mortgages. And I don't? My money is just up for grabs because I'm single? That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. It's what all of you have always meant." I started to walk away, then turned back. "Remember what you said when you saw my gift in the trash. Looks like your gift found the right home." Those words helped me see you all clearly for the first time. I'm done being the family bank. I walked away, my heart surprisingly steady. There had been a time when such a conversation would have left me shaking with anxiety, torn between anger and obligation. Now I just felt calm certainty that I was on the right path. That night, as my friends gathered around my dining table, laughing and sharing stories over the meal I'd prepared, I realized I'd created my own family, one based on mutual respect and genuine affection rather than blood ties and financial expectations. "To new beginnings," my friend Tara said, raising her glass in a toast. "To boundaries," I added, clinking my glass against hers. The next day, I received a formal letter from a law firm representing my parents. They were claiming I had made a legally binding promise to give them the country house and were demanding I either transfer the deed or provide financial compensation. I forwarded the letter to my company's legal department. One of the perks of working for a large corporation was access to legal counsel. By the end of the week, my lawyer had sent a response pointing out that a birthday gift, never actually given or accepted, did not constitute a legally binding agreement. She also mentioned the photographic evidence I had of the gift being discarded, which proved rejection of the offer. I never heard from their lawyer again. As winter deepened, I settled into my new normal. Weekdays in my apartment in the city, weekends at my country house. I adopted a dog, a gentle retriever mix from the local shelter who loved running in the open space of my yard. I joined a community garden near my weekend house and started learning about native plants. I went on a few dates with a literature professor who lived in the same town as my country house. I didn't miss the monthly drain on my bank account or the constant criticism. I didn't miss the Sunday phone calls that always left me feeling inadequate. I didn't miss walking on eggshells around my mother's moods or my siblings' jealousy. What surprised me most was how quickly the guilt faded. My whole life, I'd been conditioned to believe that family came first, no matter what. It took finding my gift in the trash, literal physical proof of how little they valued me, to break that conditioning. I heard through Rachel that my parents were thinking of downsizing to an apartment, that Mark and Diana were bickering over who should contribute more to helping them. None of it felt like my problem anymore. Some people might call me cold or unfeeling for cutting off my family. Maybe I am. But after years of being used and taken for granted, I finally realized a simple truth. Sometimes the most liberating thing you can do is walk away.